massive tornado touches down in Alberta, Canada. Residents managed to take video of the twister as it moved at about 30 miles per hour. The storm lasted just moments and didn't appear to leave behind much damage, and luckily nobody was injured.
Wow, look at this wild weather in Mexico. This being captured on Tuesday. The Washington Post says it's a supercell thunderstorm producing a tornado. Now, the Post says that what makes this look so strange is that the storm was shot from right under it, so you get a much different view than you normally would of a powerful storm.
We return now to the breaking news we are following right now out of London. These are live images right now coming into our newsroom. London police say they are dealing with an incident on London Bridge. A witness tells the BBC that a white van veered off the pavement on the bridge and struck as many as 6 people. Now, we're also hearing that London Bridge is closed in both directions due to the police activity out there. We will continue to follow this for you here on air and online, WNCN.com.
Let's go.
The Philippines has been gripped by violence as a Manila casino is attacked, and President Duterte vows to crack down on terrorists. Parts of the country have now become full-blown war zones, with Marawi a key hotspot. Fierce fighting between government forces and ISIL-affiliated militants has spread to the streets of the southern city, with civilians at threat of being caught in the crossfire. Mass evacuations are underway. Charlotte Dubensky looks at what's it like to be in that battle zone right now.
A sigh of relief for those who've managed to escape from the fighting in Marawi. This child clutches her most precious possessions, teddy bears. The army says more than 150 people were rescued on Saturday. 46 were children. Amongst them, the Islamic writer Noor Luqman, who'd been helping to shelter Christians.
I was very determined that nothing will happen to them over my dead body.
No stranger to terrorists, he studied in Saudi Arabia with Osama bin Laden. And when ISIS fighters came knocking at his door, he told them to leave.
And did they know that you were hiding Christians?
No, I hope not, because if they knew that there were Christians in my house, they will all be beheaded and executed.
For many others, the ordeal is far from over. A few families have locked themselves into this Islamic school for safety. The battlefront is less than half a kilometre from where I'm standing, and you can frequently hear the rat-a-tat-tat of gunfire and of bombs going off. We can even hear helicopters circling in the air, and it's a constant reminder for those who sought safety here at this madrasa of exactly how much danger they're still in.
We're afraid. Sometimes helicopters fire at us, and the jihadists might kill us too.
The Filipino military has admitted the fight is far harder than they'd expected, but they say they have surrounded the enemy and victory is now within their grasp. Charlotte Dubinsky, RT, Murari, Philippines.
Some people spend so much time with their laptop they may as well be married to it. Just don't try to perform the ceremony in Utah. The state's attorney general's office this week said there is no constitutional right to marry a computer, much to Chris Sevier's chagrin. In a lawsuit against the state of Utah, the 40-year-old essentially likened same-sex marriage to a legal union between a human and an inanimate object. Plaintiffs contend that because the courts have recognized same-sex individuals' right to marry, this court should further expand the right to marry to include unions between person and a laptop computer and unions between multiple partners. Sevier's endgame, according to the document, is for the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse its landmark 2015 ruling that legalized gay marriage throughout the country. By throwing a tantrum and trying to espouse a machine, Sevier believes he can convince the High Court to return to its primitive limited definition of marriage as being between one man and one woman.
The Albuquerque Police Department says an officer tased a man trying to run away and then he dropped dead. Sky 7 was above the neighborhood near Alameda and Loretta Road around lunchtime.
We don't usually have this kind of thing in this neighborhood.
You can see law enforcement surrounding the area.
Just was worried something bad happened.
Police say the man tried stealing from a cash register at the Dillards in the Cottonwood Mall. He ran when the officer got there.
I'm thankful that the cops were on him.
Nearly a 1-mile chase to this neighborhood on Bosque Circle.
How this neighborhood is configured, and there are a lot of walls, there are a lot of fences in this area, a lot of animals. The officer was chasing him down this way.
Police say when the officer was chasing him, he was jumping over all of these fences trying to get away. APD says the man had some kind of medical condition and died at the scene after he was tased. That's why the Office of the Medical Investigator was there along with 2 mobile crime units. Police say the neighborhood is safe tonight. APD will not say who the suspect is until his family is notified. Reporting in Northwest Albuquerque, Justin Matthews, KWT, Action 7 News.
Officials confirm 3 explosions hit a funeral ceremony and killed at least 6 people in the Afghan capital. But according to local media, at least 19 people have been killed and 87 wounded in what they say was a suicide bombing. Journalist Bilal Sawari told us that senior Afghan officials were at that funeral.
There were several hundred people attending the funeral service for Salim, a young man who had graduated from a military academy in India. He was in Kabul. He was one of those protesting about the growing insecurity. He also happens to be the son of the first deputy speaker of the upper house of the Afghan parliament. His relatives, his friends are already saying that he was shot dead by government forces. We have seen some pictures that are actually quite grotesque, showing a number of dead bodies, showing a number of body parts. This attack just shows you how volatile the security situation remains and how Afghanistan continues to be haunted by incompetent security officials, by these security failures.
Well, the blasts happened during the funeral for a man who died at a violent rally in Kabul on Saturday. At least 8 protesters were reportedly killed there, with several more wounded after police opened fire. Well, tempers flared against the government over security after an attack on Wednesday that killed at least 90 people and injured hundreds more in the capital. 4 police officers are said to have been injured after being hit by stones. Demonstrators waved placards calling on the authorities to resign.
On Saturday, Venezuela activists in Caracas protest food shortages by banging empty pots and holding signs that said only the government is growing fatter. Protesters were quickly stopped by security officials who fired tear gas. The protests have been going on for 2 months of nearly daily demonstrations. Protesters are demanding early presidential elections, freedom for jailed activists, and humanitarian aid to allow in scarce medicines and food. According to local university studies, around 93% of Venezuelans cannot afford to buy enough food, and 73% of them have lost weight in the last year.
Hollywood of a powerful storm.
Storm watch, a massive tornado.
This wild weather in Mexico, this being captured on Tuesday. The Washington Post says it's a supercell thunderstorm producing a tornado. Now, the Post says that what makes this look so strange is that the storm was shot from right under it, so you get a much different view than you normally do.
Wow, look. Tornado touches down in Alberta, Canada. Residents managed to take video of the twister as it moved at about 30 miles per hour. The storm lasted just moments and didn't appear to leave behind much damage, and luckily, nobody was injured.